Hello everyone, this is Prabhuswamy KS, lecturer in chemistry from the Department of Chemistry, Sri Siddhaganga College of Arts, Science and Commerce for Women, BH Road, Tumkuru. Dear friends, in this presentation, I am going to give a lecture on the topic bioenergetics, which is a part of biochemistry paper in all the UG and PG courses in Indian universities. Okay, my discussion on this topic includes the concepts listed here: definition of bioenergetics, fundamental laws of thermodynamics, stages of energy transformation, free energy concept, exorganic reactions and endorganic reactions. Finally, high energy compounds are energy rich compounds. Okay, dear friends, all the living organisms must perform work to stay alive, to grow and to reproduce themselves. In order to perform any work, living organisms require certain amount of energy. The living organisms have the ability to gain their energy from various sources and they use it into the biological functions. The excess of energy is transferred from one form to another. The study of energy transduction in biological system is known as bioenergetics. So that bioenergetics is defined as the quantitative study of the energy transformations that occur in living cells and the nature and function of the chemical process responsible for these transformations. Biological energy transformations related to the two fundamental laws of thermodynamics. Number one, law of conservation of energy. This is first law of thermodynamics. This law states that in any physical or chemical change, the total amount of energy in the universe remains constant. However, it can be changes from one form to another form. So the total amount of energy in the universe always remains constant. Energy can transform from one form to another form. So that energy can neither be created nor be destroyed, but it can changes from one form to another form. So this is the first law of thermodynamics. The second law of thermodynamics states that the entropy of the universe always increases. That means the universe always tends towards more and more disorder. So entropy of the universe always increases. Living organisms maintain their internal orders by taking free energy from the surrounding in the form of nutrients or sunlight and returning an equal amount of energy as in the form of heat and entropy to the surroundings. So that biological energy transformation follows the two fundamental laws of thermodynamics. Okay, this slide shows the energy transformation in the biological system. There are three levels of energy transformations. Sunlight is the principal source of energy known as solar energy. It is available without any cost. In the first stage, green plants harvest the solar energy and use it to prepare their own food material from carbon dioxide and water by the process known as photosynthesis. In the second stage, the animals depending upon the green plants for their energy or food. Animals use these nutrient molecules and oxidize them during respiration to synthesize chemical energy. In the third stage, the chemical energy is utilized by the living cells for different cellular activities and this energy is released to the surrounding largely in the form of heat. So, green plants harvest the solar energy and prepare their own food material from carbon dioxide and water. Some of the nutrient molecules is used by plant itself in the first stage. In the second stage, animals utilize the nutrients molecules from the green plants and prepare chemical energy. This chemical energy is utilized by the living cells to release carbon dioxide and water. The energy is returned to the surrounding in the form of heat. So we can say that energy can neither be created nor be destroyed. It can be transformed from one form to another form. Okay, while we discussing about bioenergetics, free energy concept comes into picture. Here, understanding of this free energy concept is helpful to understanding and classifying various organic and inorganic reactions, and it is helpful to know the mechanism through which energy transformation taking place in the biochemical process. Look at the definition of free energy. Here, free energy is defined as the amount of internal energy associated with a thermodynamic system that is available to perform work. So this is the definition of free energy. The free energy at constant temperature and pressure that can be used to do work is known as Gibbs free energy. It is denoted by the capital letter G. Here Gibbs free energy is related to other thermodynamic terms, enthalpy and entropy, by the equation G is equal to H minus T into S, where G is Gibbs free energy, H is enthalpy or heat content of the system, and S is entropy, which is a measure of disorder. Here the free energy content of a substance cannot be measured directly. However, the change in free energy, that is delta G, can be measured when the reactant is converted into product. The change in free energy delta G is given by the equation delta G is equal to delta H minus T into delta S, where delta G is change in free energy, delta H is change in enthalpy. It indicates whether the chemical reaction is exothermic reaction or endothermic reaction. If delta H is positive, the reaction is said to be endothermic. That means heat is absorbed by the system. If the delta H is negative, the reaction is exothermic. And T is temperature, delta S change in entropy. Here the change in free energy is also given by the equation delta Z is equal to G final minus G initial. For a chemical reaction, the change in free energy is measured by using this equation, free energy of the products minus free energy of the reactants. Here the sign of delta Z decides the spontaneity of the chemical reactions. So that delta Z naught value is very significant to decide the spontaneity of the chemical reaction. If delta Z is negative, the reaction is said to be spontaneous. In that case, the product has lower free energy than the reactant molecules. So if delta Z is negative number, the reaction is spontaneous reaction. If delta Z is positive number, then the product has higher free energy than the reactant molecule. The reaction is a non-spontaneous process. But when delta Z is equal to 0, the reaction is said to be at equilibrium. That means the rate of forward reaction is equal to rate of backward reaction in a reversible reaction. So delta G value can decide the spontaneity of any chemical reactions. Okay, another term, that is standard free energy change, which is denoted by the symbol delta Z naught. Here, in order to understand the standard free energy change, let us consider a general chemical reaction. When A gives the product B at constant temperature and pressure, the change in free energy delta Z is equal to delta Z naught plus RT ln molar concentration of B divided by molar concentration of A. The standard free energy change delta Z naught is the free energy change under standard conditions, that is when the concentrations of all aqueous solutions are 1 mole per dm cube. So that delta Z naught is equal to delta Z plus 0. That means the standard free energy change is equal to free energy change when molar concentrations of all the aqueous solutions are equal to 1 mole per dm cube. Okay, here the chemical reactions are classified into exorganic reactions and endorganic reactions based on the sign of delta Z value. Let us consider exorganic reactions. The reactions where the change in free energy is negative, that is delta Z is negative, are known as exorganic reactions. Exorganic reactions are spontaneous reaction and they are thermodynamically favorable. For example, let us consider the hydrolysis of ATP into adenosine diphosphate and inorganic phosphate. For this reaction, the delta Z naught, that is change in free energy, is a negative number, that is equal to minus 30.5 kilojoules per mole. So that this reaction is an example for exorganic reactions. Similarly, endorganic reactions are the reactions in which the change in free energy is a positive number, that is delta Z is equal to a positive number. These reactions are non-spontaneous and they are thermodynamically unfavorable. For example, let us consider the formation of glucose 6-phosphate from glucose and inorganic phosphate. In this case, the change in free energy is a positive number, that is plus 13.8 kilojoules per mole. So that this reaction is an example for endorganic reaction. So see the difference between exorganic and endorganic reaction. For exorganic reaction, the change in free energy is negative. For endorganic reaction, the change in free energy is positive. Exorganic reactions are spontaneous reactions. Endorganic reactions are non-spontaneous reactions. Exorganic reactions are thermodynamically favorable reactions, whereas endorganic reactions are thermodynamically unfavorable reactions. Okay, the difference between endorganic reactions and exorganic reaction is shown in graphical form. Here the graph is plotted by taking reaction coordinates against free energy of the reactants and free energy of the products. The first graph shows the behavior of exorganic reaction where free energy of reactant is more than the free energy of products, so that delta Z is negative and the reaction is thermodynamically favorable. The second graph is for endorganic reaction. In this case, free energy of the products is greater than free energy of the reactant, so that delta Z is positive and is thermodynamically unfavorable. Here, the thermodynamically unfavorable endorganic reactions are driven in forward direction by using some external energy. This is done by coupling a thermodynamically unfavorable endorganic reactions with the thermodynamically favorable exorganic reaction. This process is known as energy coupling. Okay, let me understand what is energy coupling and what are the energy coupled reactions. Here, coupling reactions are the reactions in which thermodynamically unfavorable endorganic reactions can be driven in the forward direction by coupling into a highly exorganic reaction through a common intermediate. So coupled reactions are the chemical reaction in which a thermodynamically unfavorable end-organic reaction is driven in the forward direction by coupling it to a highly exorganic reaction using a common intermediate. So the process is known as energy coupling. For example, consider the formation of glucose 6-phosphate from glucose and inorganic phosphate. This is end organic reaction since delta Z is plus 13.8 kilojoules per mole. That is positive number. So that this is end organic reaction. But hydrolysis of ATP into adenosine diphosphate and inorganic phosphate is exorganic, where delta Z is equal to minus 30.5 kilojoules per mole. When both of these reactions are combined together, the overall reaction becomes spontaneous and exorganic. The sum of the reaction is given by adenosine triphosphate plus glucose gives adenosine diphosphate and glucose 6-phosphate. Here the delta Z total is equal to minus 16.7 kilojoules per mole, so that the overall reaction is exorganic reactions, so that these reactions are known as coupled reactions. Okay, in this coupling reaction, the energy stored in the bonds of ATP molecule is used to drive the synthesis of glucose 6-phosphate because in this reaction, ATP is used to drive the end organic reaction in the forward direction. So because of this reason, ATP molecule is used to is known as energy rich compound. Several other phosphate compounds are also known, which acts as high energy compounds. Here ATP is known as high energy compound. Okay, what are high energy compounds? High energy compounds are energy rich compounds, those compounds in biological system which on hydrolysis yield free energy which is equal to or greater than the ATP molecule. So they are known as high energy compounds or energy rich compounds. Here ATP molecule is also known as high energy compound or energy rich compound. Look at the structure of adenosine triphosphate molecule. Here this molecule is made up of 3 components, that is a nitrogenous base adenine, a ribose sugar moiety, and a phosphate chain of 3 phosphate group. Okay, these are the 3 components present together in a ATP molecule. The combination of adenine with the ribose sugar is known as adenosine. So adenosine is formed by the combination of adenine and ribose sugar moiety. Here this slide shows the relationship between adenosine triphosphate and its lower members like adenosine monophosphate and adenosine diphosphate. When adenosine is attached to one phosphate group, the molecule is known as adenosine monophosphate. If the adenosine is combined with 2 phosphate molecules, the molecule is known as adenosine diphosphate. If adenosine is attached to 3 phosphate group, the molecule is known as adenosine triphosphate, that is ATP molecule. So this is the complete structure of structural features of the ATP molecule. Okay, here ATP behaves as the common energy transfer intermediate in most of the biochemical reactions which occur in the living cells. So that ATP molecule is known as universal currency of free energy. Here the structural features of the molecule itself makes the ATP most suitable compound for energy transformation in the living cells. Here hydrolysis of ATP into ADP and inorganic phosphate is an exorganic reaction. Delta Z is equal to minus 30.5 kilojoules per mole. So hydrolysis of ATP is a spontaneous process and releasing a large negative free energy. The large negative free energy value of the molecule is related to its structural features. The first thing is the presence of 4 units of negative charges creates a strain on POP bonds, so that there is a electrostatic repulsion between positively charged phosphate and negatively charged oxygen, so that the bonds are easily break down. That is phosphoanhydride bond, it is easily break down to form the products adenosine diphosphate and inorganic phosphate. As the bonds are broken down, the stability of the product increases due to resonance effect in the product molecules. The product of hydrolysis, ADP and inorganic phosphate, are more solvated than ATP molecule, so that they are more stable. Because of all these reasons, ATP has a high phosphate transfer potential, so that ATP is regarded as high energy compound. It transfers the phosphate group to other molecules. Okay, several other high energy compounds are also known. They are energy rich compounds in addition to adenosine triphosphate or ATP molecule. I already told you that energy rich compounds are those compounds in which free energy change of hydrolysis is equal to or greater than free energy of ATP molecules. These molecules also possess high phosphate transfer potentials. They are 1,3-diphosphoglycerate, where delta Z naught of hydrolysis is equal to minus 49.3 kilojoules per mole. The third compound, phosphoenol pyruvate, here delta Z naught of hydrolysis is equal to minus 61.9 kilojoules per mole. Fourth one, creatine phosphate, here delta Z naught of hydrolysis is equal to minus 43.0 kilojoules per mole. All these three compounds acts as high energy compounds or energy rich compounds. These phosphate compounds also have a high phosphate transfer potential. Okay, with this I completed my lecture on the topic bioenergetics. In my next presentation, I want to discuss about the topic biological oxidation. Thank you.